In your head, you've already won. The business is built, the book is written, the body is transformed. You've rehearsed the success story so many times it feels like a memory, but here's the problem. None of it exists. The page is blank, the project is untouched, and every day that passes, the gap between the person you imagine being and the person you actually are gets a little bit wider. This isn't about laziness, it's about something far more specific and far more dangerous. You have a notebook full of ideas that will never see daylight. In the shower, you build companies. On your commute, you write novels. Late at night, you design the perfect life with such clarity you can almost touch it. The vision is so vivid, so complete, that it feels like work, like you've already done something. But you haven't. Meanwhile, you're watching people with half your talent actually winning. People who can't see what you see, who don't have your vision or your intelligence. They're living the life you've been planning. And it doesn't just frustrate you, it cuts deeper than that. Because you know you could do it better if you started. But that if has become the heaviest word in your vocabulary. It's the wall between who you are and who you're capable of becoming. And every day you don't start, the wall gets higher. Here's your typical Monday. You wake up with intention. This is the week everything changes. You feel a surge of energy. You make a list, color code your calendar, reorganize your workspace. By the time you've finished preparing to work, you're already exhausted. You've spent all your energy building the starting line. So you sit down for just 5 minutes of scrolling, just a quick break before you begin. We both know how that ends. The sun sets, the guilt moves in, and the project is still at zero. This cycle doesn't just waste your time, it does something worse. Every time it repeats, you trust yourself a little less. Every broken promise to yourself chips away at the foundation of your self-esteem. You're not just procrastinating, you're teaching yourself that your word means nothing. And that's the most dangerous lesson you can learn. Here's what's actually happening in your brain. The perfection prison. In your mind, the idea is flawless. It hasn't been criticized. It hasn't failed. It exists in a perfect, protected state where anything is still possible. But the moment you start, the moment you take that first real step, the idea leaves the safety of your imagination and enters the messy, unforgiving real world, and your brain knows what happens there. Your first draft will be terrible. Your first attempt will be clumsy. The gap between what you can imagine and what you can actually produce right now will be painfully, embarrassingly obvious. Your brain hates that gap. Psychologists call it the taste skill gap, the distance between your refined taste, which developed quickly through consumption, and your underdeveloped skill, which only develops through practice. And that gap creates a specific kind of psychological pain that your brain will do almost anything to avoid. So it keeps the idea safe, locked in your head, where it can stay perfect forever. But here's the brutal truth. In your mind, it's perfect. In reality, it doesn't exist. The potential trap. There's another layer to this. As long as you never start, you have infinite potential. You could be a great writer. You could be a successful entrepreneur. You could transform your life. That possibility feels safe. It protects your ego. It lets you believe in a version of yourself that's never been tested. If you try and fail, you lose that safety. You lose the comfortable identity of being talented but stuck. You risk discovering that maybe you're not as special as you thought, that maybe your ideas aren't as brilliant as they seemed in the shower, that maybe the gap between what you imagine and what you're actually capable of is too wide to cross. So your subconscious pulls the emergency brake. It convinces you that you're waiting for the right time, that you need more information, that you should research a little longer, prepare a little better, wait until you have more money or time or experience. These aren't rational decisions, they're rationalizations, your brain defending your comfort zone with sophisticated lies. It finds 1,000 reasons to stay and only one reason to go. Productive procrastination. Here's where it gets particularly insidious. You're not doing nothing, you're researching, reading, watching tutorials, comparing software, picking the perfect desk. This feels like progress. Your brain rewards you with little hits of dopamine. You feel busy, productive, like you're moving forward. But you're not, you're hiding. You've become a professional student of your own dreams without ever becoming a practitioner. Learning keeps you safe from the fear of being bad. Preparation gives you the feeling of control without the risk of failure. But preparation without execution isn't preparation. It's avoidance wearing a disguise. The freeze response. Let's talk about the physical sensation of not starting. That tightness in your chest when you open your laptop, the sudden, urgent need to clean your kitchen when you should be writing, the way you become inexplicably sleepy the moment you sit down to focus. This isn't random. This is your nervous system going into freeze mode. Your brain perceives the work as a threat to your ego. It sees the blank page as dangerous, so it shuts you down, makes you feel heavy, foggy, stuck. It's trying to save you from the pain of potentially failing. But here's what it's actually doing: trading the temporary discomfort of imperfect action for the permanent pain of unrealized potential. Mistakes hurt for a moment, regret hurts forever. So where does this lead? Not to one dramatic failure you can point to and say, that's where it went wrong. Instead, it leads to something slower, more corrosive. 5 years from now, you're the same person, same room, same frustrations, same unrealized ideas that have aged from exciting to embarrassing. The only difference, you're sadder, because now you have evidence, years of evidence that you're the kind of person who doesn't follow through. The external consequences are obvious: the business that never launched, the book that never got written, the transformation that never happened. While people with less vision and less talent are building things, you're still planning, still preparing, still stuck at the starting line of a race that already finished. But the internal consequences are worse. Every day you don't start, you're reinforcing a belief that lives quietly beneath everything you do. I'm the kind of person who talks but doesn't act, who dreams but doesn't do, who had potential but wasted it. That belief becomes your identity, and identity is the hardest thing in the world to change. You're not afraid of failing. You're afraid of trying your absolute hardest and discovering it still wasn't enough, so you never try your hardest. You leave yourself an escape route. I wasn't really trying, so it doesn't count as failure. But you know the truth, and that knowledge is eating you alive. Here's what changes everything. The right time you're waiting for, it doesn't exist. You're waiting for the fear to go away, for the stars to align, for the moment when you finally feel ready. But the fear never goes away while you're standing still. It only vanishes once you start moving. You have the equation backward. You think, once I feel confident, I'll start, but it actually works the other way. Confidence is the result of action, not the cause of it. You have to start in order to feel brave, not the other way around. And here's the thing about starting: it's supposed to be hard. Starting takes more energy than continuing. You're trying to push a parked car. You push with everything you have and it barely moves, but once the car is rolling, you can keep it moving with one hand. The first sentence is brutal, the second one comes easier, but that initial push requires most of your willpower. Stop expecting it to be easy, expect it to be brutal. When you know it's supposed to be hard, you stop wondering what's wrong with you and you just push. So how do you actually break free? Solution 1: lower the bar dramatically. Your perfectionism wants you to write a chapter. Tell yourself you'll write 1 sentence. Your ambition wants you to run 5 miles. Tell yourself you'll just put on your shoes. Make the task so small it feels ridiculous, so small your brain can't generate enough fear to stop you. You're not trying to finish the project. You're just trying to break the static friction. If you can't work for an hour, work for 2 minutes. If you can't clean the whole house, clean 1 spoon. This sounds trivial. It's not. It's the only way to bypass your brain's security system. By the time your nervous system realizes what's happening, you're already in motion. And motion creates its own momentum. Once you're moving, continuing is infinitely easier than starting was. Solution 2: embrace the shitty first draft. Give yourself permission to be bad. Actually, demand it. Tell yourself, I'm going to do this poorly on purpose. When you remove the pressure to be great, you remove the paralysis. You can fix a bad page. You can edit a terrible video. You can improve a clumsy business plan. But you can't fix nothing. You can't edit a blank page. You can't improve what doesn't exist. 0 multiplied by perfect is still 0. 1 multiplied by messy is infinitely better. Your only job in the beginning is to get the clay on the table. Don't worry about the sculpture yet. Just get the raw material out of your head and into the world. You can be a perfectionist later. Right now, you need to be a builder. Every master was once a disaster. Every expert was once an amateur who refused to quit. If you wait until you're good enough to start, you'll never start. Solution 3: change your environment. If you're sitting in the same chair where you always scroll, your brain is primed to scroll. You're trying to use willpower to fight your surroundings, but willpower is a limited resource. Change the scenery instead. Go to a library, a coffee shop, sit on the floor, do something to signal to your brain that the rules have changed. Break the pattern physically so you can break it mentally. Make the wrong choice harder and the right choice easier. Leave your phone in another room. Delete the apps that eat your time. Create friction between you and distraction. Remove friction between you and work. Create a ritual that signals the start of work. A specific song, a cup of tea, 3 deep breaths. You need a trigger that says, the time for thinking is over. The time for doing has begun. Solution 4. Stop consuming, start creating. You don't need another productivity video, another article about success, another podcast about motivation. You don't need more information. You already know what to do. You're just avoiding doing it by pretending to prepare. Learning without execution is just entertainment. It gives you the feeling of progress without the reality of it. Close this video when it ends, and do one thing, just one, something that moves the project from your head into the world. Solution 5. Focus on the next step, not the finish line. You're looking at mile 26 of the marathon while you're still tying your shoes. Of course you feel overwhelmed. Stop looking at the mountain, look at your feet. One step, that's all you're ever responsible for. You don't need to know how the whole project will unfold. You just need to know what the next 2 minutes require. The lights only turn on as you drive through them. You have to trust that you'll figure it out as you go. Wrong action teaches you how to adjust. No action teaches you nothing. Solution 6. Calculate the real cost. We obsess over the risk of starting, but we rarely calculate the risk of staying the same. What does your life look like in 5 years if you never start? That's the real risk, not that you'll try and fail, but that you'll never try at all. Failing is temporary. You learn something, you get data, you adjust. Never starting is permanent. It's the death of the version of yourself you could have become. You're trading your future for a comfortable afternoon. Is that really the trade you want to make? Here's what you need to understand. Potential is not an achievement. Potential is just energy waiting to be used, and the world doesn't reward what you could do, it rewards what you do. Right now, there's someone with half your talent succeeding simply because they were willing to start. They were willing to look foolish, to be beginners, to produce bad work and learn from it. They didn't have a better plan than you. They didn't have more resources or more time. They just had a higher tolerance for being imperfect. While you were perfecting the idea in your head, they were testing it in reality. While you were waiting to feel ready, they were getting ready by doing. The difference between you and them isn't talent, it's action. You spend enough time analyzing, enough time planning, enough time thinking about the person you want to become. You're ready, you just don't feel like it, and you never will until you begin. So here's what I want you to do, right now, not tomorrow, not when you feel motivated. Pick the one thing you've been avoiding, the one that weighs on you most, and do it for 2 minutes. Write 1 sentence, send 1 email, open the file, draw 1 line. Just start. Start badly, start scared, start before you're ready. Because the race is already happening, the clock is already ticking, and every second you spend waiting is a second someone else is using to build the thing you're still dreaming about. The relief you'll feel when you finally take that first step, when the weight lifts and the guilt evaporates, and you remember what it feels like to be in control of your own life, that feeling is better than any dopamine hit from a screen. You deserve that feeling. Stop romanticizing your potential. Stop protecting the myth of what you could be. Stop hiding behind preparation. The fantasy dies the moment you start, but reality takes its place. And reality is where real life happens. If this hit home, the next video explores why smart people often struggle to succeed, and how your intelligence might be the very thing holding you back. It could be the missing piece you've been looking for.